This is Dan with Syntax, and today we'll be going over JavaScriptExecutor here within Selenium. As I always do mention, please make sure you watch previous videos. We do build upon the next, so what we're currently watching and learning is easier to understand and put into practice. Now, JavaScriptExecutor. What is JavaScriptExecutor? Simply put, it's an interface that allows us to execute JavaScript code. Alright, so now why would we need to do this? A few reasons. Let's go here to our page here, and I'm at our syntax practice site, and I'm at our checkbox example here, the same one I did in our radio button checkbox video. Now, again, JavaScriptExecutor allows us to execute JavaScript code. So why we might do that is in case something isn't interactable. We tried our actions class. We tried doing maybe our keyboard and mouse events. We're trying our click method. We're doing everything we can and nothing's working. A great option is to use JavaScriptExecutor to perform those tasks. And they can do pretty much anything, right? So JavaScriptExecutor can do things like create new web elements, change attributes of web elements in the HTML DOM, right? It can go ahead and change that dynamically. We can manipulate pretty much anything in the DOM that we want using JavaScriptExecutor if you know how to do it. It's a very, very powerful tool. Now, obviously, we don't want to have to change anything about web elements in order to get our test cases to pass or work, but sometimes it's inevitable, right? So if you guys can, try to use your actions class. Try to use your regular click methods or your send keys or what have you that's available to Selenium. And JavaScriptExecutor should be kind of your last resort if nothing works. If you tried a bunch of things, you tried different locators and it's not clicking right or it's not sending the keys, go ahead and give JavaScriptExecutor a try and it should be able to work out for you. Now, there is many different JavaScriptExecutor commands, and we'll go over a couple of them here. So you guys can go to Google, you can type in JavaScriptExecutor with Selenium Java, and you guys look at other methods. There's like hundreds of them out there. We can do all kinds of things like I discussed. But here I'm going to show you some of the basic ones, some of the ones that you might come across pretty regularly and often. And these are kind of the generic ones that most people use, okay? So what we have here is our system.setProperty. You guys know that. Our Chrome driver is set up. I have the URL to the same practice site I was showing you guys. We're navigating there, and I went ahead and I stored, again, checkbox option number 4 right here as a web element, right? So now JavaScriptExecutor, as I did say, we need to go ahead and have, we need to call it, and it is an interface, and we need to have our instance of our driver here as well. So everything should be written here as well, okay? This is how it's written. Now, once we go ahead and call and create our instance for our JavaScriptExecutor, you're going to get a little bit of an error, and let me actually show you that here. We have to import it. So now that I've taken away the import, you can see here that I'm getting my error. Now we can either do can't speak today, guys. We can do Command-Shift-O or Alt-Shift-O, depending upon whether you're using Mac or Windows, or we can just go over and select the import button. Now that I have my JavaScriptExecutor interface imported, it's ready to use. One quick note too, not that you would ever do it, but for this, we try to name the classes in our local here the name of what we're working with. But if I had typed in JavaScriptExecutor here as my class name, it would give me a bunch of errors, and it's going to think that I'm trying to create an instance of the class I'm currently in, and it won't be able to recognize what you're actually trying to call is the actual JavaScriptExecutor, okay? So again, just don't name JavaScriptExecutor here the same name as the class if you guys are trying to practice, okay? Just a little kind of tip to try to avoid any issues. Now that we've called it, what I have here is a series of steps here that I'm going to demo for you guys, and it's going to go all into one. So I have a bunch of threads here just to slow down the code so you guys can see the actions happening. Now what we first have here is our scroll down method, okay? And then we have a scroll up. Now how we do this is we go ahead and we put in our JavaScript code here between parentheses. And you notice here we have execute script. So JavaScript Executor has two different. We have JS dot and we have execute async script and execute script. Async we don't necessarily need. It's more of trying to help out with kind of multi-threading, right? Making sure that their different scripts and different lines of code are interacting well with each other. They're kind of talking to each other. We don't need to do that. It's thread safe. We're ready to go. We can go ahead and just use execute script. Now that I have it, we then can go ahead and put in our code here inside our parentheses and then end it with a semicolon here to close our statement. Alright, so again, you guys can look these up. You guys can pause the screen and watch and write down exactly as I have it here. These are lines and scripts of JavaScript code, and we put them between parentheses. And I'll show you a couple other ones here. So we have our JS, right, which we named here. Execute script is the method that we're calling, and then we're passing our JavaScript code as our argument. So this is the code we write to scroll down, okay? Now this is the script for a vertical scroll. So we want to go negative, 150, 200, 500, whatever it is, that will bring you back up. So we have our scroll down, and then we have our scroll up. We have here scrolling into view. So what this will do is instead of scrolling down by pixels, and what I mean by that is it's going to count by so many pixels here. If we go over here, and then let's say over here, and then we can go to styles, and then you can guys see like borders and boxes, and you'll notice how many pixels, and there'll be scroll height. We can look at all this here in our HTML DOM right here within our developer tools. So, but instead of scrolling by as many pixels, whether it be 500 or 500 back up, let's say I wanted to get to my checkbox here, I can, instead of calling how many pixels I need to go down, I can just say, hey, I don't feel like doing that math. I just want you to scroll down until this element is into view, that we can now see this. So that's what this one's doing, all right? No, this one right here. This one is going to scroll into view, it's set as true, and we list here the element, which was my checkbox, right? It's going to list the element that we want to scroll into view, all right? That's how that one is written. And again, guys, these are scripts, these are lines of code, case sensitive. Be sure to pause the screen and write it exactly as I have it written down, okay? And again, if you guys need any extra help, please, there's other resources that are out there that are great. And like I said, there is tons of other methods out there. So this is just to get you guys started, okay? Now, this one here is if we can click, okay? So what we can do is just simply click a element of our choosing. And this is the line of code here, and we specify the element as well. Now, this one here is to go ahead and get the text of everything on the document. So this would almost be like a get text option, but instead it applies to the entire document, right? The entire web page here, okay? Now there's other ones, like I said, like send keys, or we can manipulate different styling or attributes or whatever it might be. But these are just a couple of ones to get you started, and especially the scrolling and the click is a big time you'll use. And yep, so again, guys, that's it. I am going to go ahead and run this now, and what it should do is it should come to the page, land at the page, it should scroll down, scroll back up, scroll down to option 4 is in view, it should click, and then we will see here in our console, let me bring this up for you guys, we'll see the text being printed out in the console, which I have in this line right here. All right, let's go ahead and run. Scrolling down. After 3 seconds, scrolling back up. There we go. Scroll back down again. There it is. It clicked option 4, and we should see here printed out in our console all the text of the web page. Okay? Well, that's it for me, guys. That's a quick introduction to JavaScript Executor. Again, please write everything down as I have it here. Please go ahead and Google other methods. There are many, many, many more. And again, this is just to get you guys started, okay? Well, again, guys, that's it. Have a good one and happy coding.